So, good afternoon, one and all. We are into the ninth session of our faculty development program on sensor data analytics. And for this session, we have Mr. Pradeep Kumar Baisan, who is the Geospatial Director of Sature Analytics Private Limited, Bengaluru. He has more than 13 years of research, development, as well as operational experience in private and government organizations in developing applications and products to use the Earth observation data for agriculture, forestry, agricultural banking, insurance, and reinsurance sector. He has the expertise in satellite derived insight for an agricultural domain like crop acreage estimation at different administrative levels. Also, he is an expert in smart sampling, drought, and flood analytics as well. He has developed agricultural products to serve the banking sector at near to real-time conditions. He has 2 patents and published more than 5 papers. He graduated in agricultural engineering from the College of Agricultural Engineering and Technology, Vidyapith Akola in 2008, and he obtained MTech with specialization in agricultural remote sensing from the Indian Institute of Remote Sensing, Dehradun in 2011. Dear Pradeep sir, we are extremely privileged to have you over here as our resource person for the session. Over to you, sir.
You are muted. You are muted.
Yeah, sorry. So thank you, Sabine and Dr. Victor. You invited me for the lectures, and today I'm delivering a lecture on space sensor data analytics. So before we start the space sensor data analytics part, I am giving a small background how the space sensors people are using, and on a basis of the space sensors, mm, uh, satellites, like satellites there, what type of the different sensors are available at present, how what type of processings are required for the imaging and non-imaging sensor side, and on a basis of that, how we can use in a or different verticals, how we can use, and how we can predict or near to real time basis, or sometimes real time basis, as well as the how we can do the forecast, the results or analytics through satellite data or space sensor data side. That is a one part. And second, from a space sensor side, basically, if we want to analyze or deliver or some kind of decision support system or decisions making problems, if we want to resolve, so that time how we can use the space sensors, and how it will be helpful for the community, like a scientific community, as well as the for the normal people, how they can use, because there is a big gap. The people sometimes in a private industry and a different government organization, those are not from this particular background, or the space sensor side or remote sensing side. They don't know how they can use, how they will analyze. So these are the image interpretation part and the processing part. That is one particular challenge for the people. They knows how to download the data, but they don't know how they can visualize the particular data sets, different satellite data sets. And on a basis of the different satellite data sets, on how they will derive insight, or some companies or any organization is if deriving insights, then how they will analyze at or that particular data. That is also a big challenge. So from I'm working in this field past 13 years onward. So these challenges I have with the people. So that is our responsibility also, if we want to introduce a new satellite or space sensor based products to any community, then we have to literate in this particular field also at a basic level, so they can understand. They will also think, okay, they can develop by own what they can how they can use, how they can develop. So that type of activity or the interest also should come when we are start to do the uh, start to do the literacy part. So now I'm delivering a lecture on space sensor data analytics part. Okay, fine. So space sensor side, what is the sensor? So that is a the mechanical device or instrument that is mounted in space. So let's say if someone is building a payload or satellite, so in a satellite there were different parts, because the thermal heating part also they have to control. Then payload side, the camera calibration, orientation, and the camera qualities, that side also they have to put a sensor. So in a satellite itself side, there were different types of sensors are required to capture the data from a ground or from a ground. So, and the for the sensor calibration side and his life side also, the different kind of sensors are required to to detect the activity continuously from a ground, and they can provide a continuous data or images from a space to ground. So now this is the one part where the remote sensing is come in the picture. So what is remote sensing? So let's say if I'm sitting here and I can detect or any picture or anything from any particular place without touching or any object, if I can see or analysis, so that is a kind of stream is a remote sensing. So if you are not physical contact with any object, and you can collect the information, what type of object, how it's look like, what what kind of the conditions are going on that particular object. So that is a remote sensing. So that particular branch is a remote sensing. So same kind of activity on a ground we are doing through the cameras or visible range side. So in a visible range, our eyes also will come. Let's say we are not touching any object, but I can see 1.5 kilometer far object, and I can analyze, okay, there was a one man or was standing there or something like that. So that is also a part of remote sensing. Now the sensor of the planet side, so there were different types of sensors. Those are uh, established on a different orbit. So orbit is a nothing but that is a height from a ground to space or atmosphere. So on a different in a near surface, there were kind of different types of sensors people are using, like a signal or opportunity Doppler radar or phones. Also that is also one kind of sensor. But when we are going for the 1 kilometer far from earth, then you people are using UAVs or balloons, like that. So up to 10 kilometers people are using airborne sensors or instrument to detect to collect the photographs, like that. So when we are going above 400 kilometer to 650 kilometers, so that is a sun synchronized kind of satellite orbit place. There the different sun synchronized sensors or satellites people are putting, and for the geosynchronous satellite side, so that side the range from Earth's surface is something 32,000 to 36,000 kilometer. So both so sun synchronized and the geostationary or geosynchronized satellites have a different types of roles also. So if someone wants to collect information very frequently, then they and they want to cover a very big area. So every 15-minute interval or 1 hour interval, if he wants to collect information, what kind of activities are going on at a district level or maybe state, or he wants to cover one particular country, then definitely he has to go with the geostationary satellite side. But in a polar satellite side also, but in a sun synchronized polar satellite, we can say, or sensor side, people so here the information what you are getting from a geosynchronized satellite side, the frequency will reduce. Hello,
Yes.
Yes,
any
sir.
question? Shall I continue?
Hey, I guess no question.
No question, sir. You can continue. Yeah.
Okay. So in that case, your temporal frequency will change, but you can you can cover a very small objects or a small area through sun synchronized satellites. So these are the different kind of platform people are using on a basis of the height. Here you can see the UAV, airborne instrument and all. So these are the different kind of the platform to collect satellite data. Some people are using balloons. If they want to cover one specific area, then they can go with the airborne sensors. And then if someone wants to get a defined interval basis the data sets, then they can go with the polar or geosynchronized satellite side. So these are the sensor types. So basically, there were this is the differentiation between the active and passive sensors. Again, in an active sensor, we can bifurcate what is the scanning sensor, what is the non-scanning sensor. So active and passive sensor side, if the active sensors basically carrying our own source of light, so whatever it will emit from a sensor, that will receive back. That is a active sensor, its own source of light. But in a passive sensor side, whatever the backscatter is coming from a object, that part it will receive in a passive sensor side. Same thing for the non-imaging and imaging sensor side. From a imaging sensor side, whatever the different points of radiations are getting from a target site, that from that particular part we can obtain an image. But in a non imaging sensor side, we will get a one particular value or from a target site. So this is the imaging and non-imaging type of difference. Now the scanning and non-scanning side. So there were the scanning means the sweeping. So how it will move. So like this sensor is here, it can move like this. It will move like this and then like this. So along the track and across the track, the movement of sensor, that particular part will come under the scanning side. And the non-scanning side, the sensor will take a picture without sweeping, so that will come under the non-scanning side. So in a active sensor side, you can we can see the synthetic aperture radar, SAR, or LIDAR, uh, or real aperture radar. But in a microwave side, uh, like a passive sensor side, we can say the microwave radiometer or altimeter, as well as the from a microwave sensor, microwave satellite side. Now we can use a Sentinel-1 or different kind of microwave satellites we can use easily. But in a passive side, passive sensor side, again the scanning and non-scanning side. One is your scanning side, optical data, optical sensors will come. In optical sensors or what will happen in there, that will work on your electromagnetic spectrum side, that I will show you in a next slide. So in a optical and hyperspectral optical data sets will come. So basically, what is the characteristics of optical data? That can't penetrate the cloud. So let's say in a one particular season or region where the cloud cover is available, from on that particular place, you will not get a picture. Even the satellite will pass from that particular place. Simultaneously, for the non-imaging sensor side, under the passive sensors category, galvanometer and the camera will come. So this is the electromagnetic spectrum, where your frequency uh, and speed of light and your the lambda will come in a picture. So on a basis of the electromagnetic spectrum, uh, people are deciding how many bands are available in a particular optical sensor or microwave sensor. So here we can see the distribution. When the this is the one particular place where the frequency is very high, so this particular part will come under the shorter wavelength side. So the wavelength here, the wavelength will be a short. So in this case, these particular places up to here, we can say the about the size, if we are talking about the size or the frequency. So up to this particular, up to ultraviolet part, uh, generally we are not using in a or in a satellites. So from where we are going to use, so that will start from a zero point 0.4 micrometer to 0.7 micrometer, or 400 nanometer to 700 nanometer. This is the visible part. So this 0.4 to 0.5 micrometer, this particular wavelength will come under the blue color. Then 0.5 to 0.6 will come under the green. 0.6 to 0.7 will come under the red color. So this is the visible range that we can get from a camera or our naked eyes. Now after that, you will get an infrared region, then microwave region and radiometer region. So in an infrared region, that again, this is also we can bifurcate in three different parts: near infrared, middle infrared and far infrared. Near infrared will start from a 0.7 to 1.1 micrometer. 1.1 to 1.9 micrometer will come under the middle infrared, and 1.9 to 2.2 will come under the far infrared. And then after the far near infrared, your shortwave infrared will start. And after completion of this infrared region, your microwave region will start, where the microwave sensors, active and passive sensors, people are using in a satellite. So if in a one particular region where the cloud cover is available, then it can penetrate easily, and you will get a whole picture or whole image of that particular area in a rainy season or the cloud cover conditions also. And the radio region, basically this is people are using in a communication side. So this is the whole picture, how the atmospheric effects, and how the incoming radiance are coming from a sun, and how the satellite is receiving the emitted or emitted surface radiance or reflectance. So whatever it is receiving from incoming radiation side. So this is the sun. So this is the incoming radiation. Some will reflect and absorbed by the cloud. Some will reflect by the aerosol and the atmospheric layers. And after that, some layers will go on the earth. Here also some kind of absorptions will happen, and then after that, the whatever the reflected surface are available on earth, that will reflect the light or radiations from earth, and again it will pass from a cloud cover and the different atmospheric layer. So there were also emissions or reflectance will come in a picture, and then after that outgoing radiations will received by the this sensors. So this is the whole kind of the process how the passive sensors are getting signals from a ground. So this is the total uh, process of the energy. So how much energy is absorbed by the surface, how much energy is receiving by the satellite. So on a basis of the signal to noise ratio, uh, you will get a different kind of the images, where the every images wise and the sensor wise the sensitivity of the sensor or the image will differ. So some satellite images you will get a very bright, some satellite images you will get a very dull. So that is a kind of saturation part will come in a picture. So this is the remote sensing process. If we are getting a satellite data, then what kind of general processing is required for the satellite data. So this is the flow chart. Let's say if we are getting a satellite data, raw data, then spectral radiance we have to measure, and then radiative transfer model theory wise radiation to reflectance conversion, and the retrieval algorithm also we have to use. Then geophysical parameters, because whatever images we are getting from a satellite, that should properly fit on the ground. So there are also geoprocessing kind of geoprocessing parameters we have to use to set that particular image on a ground, to see the what kind on a, if we want to overlay on a exact objects that is available on the ground, if you want to overlay, so that should sit on a same lat long or like that. So they are the georeferencing or georectification. So these are the geophysical parameters will come in the picture. Now the types of satellites. So there were different types of satellites on a basis of the electromagnetic radiance. So here the communication satellites will come in a picture, that is the broadcast of television, internet side. Then weather satellites will come to monitor or record the temperature, pollution, cloud, rainfall. Then navigation satellite, whatever we are getting of XYZ coordinates, right, on in a GPS. So they are the navigational satellites also available to get yeah, or determine the geographic locations. Then Earth observation satellite, again here the different types of two different types of sensors are available. One is the optical side, another one is the radar side. So basically we can use this Earth observation satellite where for the environmental monitoring, agriculture monitoring, or urban monitoring. So you will get a one single image, but we can use, or we can use that particular single image in a different vertical or different application wise, we can use easily. If someone wants to do mapping for the urban area, so he can use for the urban area, so his area of interest will be the urban. If in a same image wise, because the image size will come every satellite wise, the image size will differ. So if someone wants to use the same image for the agriculture purpose, then his area of interest is agriculture, then he will focus on that particular region only. So same satellite data people can use in a different applications. Now the every sensor specification wise, every sensor has a 4 types of resolution. So spatial resolution means what is the capacity of that particular satellite or sensor to detect a object that is available on a ground, and that object he can display in a satellite image. Means, let's say for example my spatial resolution is 250 meter, then the pixel width is going to represent area by 250 meter by 250 meter on a ground. So whatever, let's say if my pixel size is a 250 meter, means whatever the objects are available on a ground and the size of object on a ground is above 250 meter, you can see on an image. If my spatial resolution is 5 meter, then on a ground, if the object is less than 5 meter resolution, I am not able to get a exact image of that particular object in my satellite data. Same thing. Now second is a spectral resolution side. In a spectral resolution side, again it is giving a specific characteristic, or it is a ability of the satellite or sensor to measure a specific wavelength. Specific wavelength in the sense, let's say uh, if someone is telling my sensors or satellites spectral resolution is a 10 nanometer or 100 nanometer, means, and there were 100 bands. So first band, if it is going to start from a 400 nanometer to 400 nanometer to 500 nanometer, and second band is going to start from a 500 to 600 nanometer. So in this case, your spectral resolution will be a 100 nanometer. So that is presenting a specific wavelength of the electromagnetic spectrum. So every wavelength wise, let's say if one sensor has 11 bands, every band has a one specific wavelength, and on the basis of that specific wavelength, we can detect or we can use a specific we can detect a specific object, or we can use that particular band for the specific purpose. Then the temporal resolution side, what is the gap or the time between the two images. Let's say today I am getting a one image for the same place, and after 10 days I am getting another one image for the same place. So that is a temporal resolution. So there, in that case, the temporal resolution will be the 10 days. But if I am getting daily images for the same area, then there the temporal resolution will be a high, and the resolution will be the 24 hours. Then the radiometric resolution side means it is showing the sensitivity of sensor. Sensitivity of sensor means, let's say I am collecting a data, and I am collecting a data there, in a sensor there were 11 bands. Every band have a different kind of the values for the pixel wise, and if I am receiving the data sets from 11 channels or 11 bands from a sensor side, and I am uh, putting that data in a 10 bit kind of in a 10 bit I'm storing our data in a 10 bit, so means 2 raised to power 10. So your the per object wise the discrimination will change. If I am same sensor data, if I am uh, receiving and I am storing in a 16-bit, then again 2 raised to power 16 wise you will get same object wise different values you will get it. So on a basis of the radiometric resolution, we can discriminate object very easily. So this is a four different types of the resolution for the sensor specification side. Now the spatial resolution, how big or the pixels. So low resolution system side, where the pixel size is more than 1 kilometer, means 1 kilometer by 1 kilometer. So in this particular type, your NOAA, VHHR or different satellites will come, or SMOS also will come, AMSR2. Then from INSAT 3D. So different kind of satellites will come. In this low resolution side, your geostationary satellite also will come in. So what will happen? Wide area we can cover through low resolution satellite, low spatial resolution satellite side, but very high resolution satellite side, we can detect a small object easily, but we can cover a small area through very high resolution satellite, side. Now this is the spatial resolution side. Let's say if I'm targeting a one palm tree object in a satellite data, so if my pixel size is a 20 meter, then how it will look like if my pixel size is a 1 meter. So these are the different satellites. This is the MS means multispectral icon of same satellite, but this is the multispectral range means 0.4 to 0.7 or 0.9. You will get a electromagnetic range. There will be different bands will come, but this is the panchromatic. So it's here in a panchromatic side you will get a one single band, but the range again, the spectral range will start from a 400 nanometer to 1.1 or 1200 nanometer. So on a basis of the spatial resolution wise, you will get a different kind of the object discrimination capacity or capability you will get on a basis of the spatial resolution. Now the satellite characterizing the satellite and the sensors. So orbit wise also on a basis of the orbit, polar and the geostationary. Then energy wise, passive or active, that I already explained in the previous slides. Then solar and the terrestrial spectra side, visible in a electromagnetic spectrum side, you saw already in a which particular which particular part the sensors are available: visible side, ultraviolet side, IR, infrared side, or microwave side. The measurement technique wise also scanning or non-scanning or imaging sounder side. Then resolution side also spatial, spectral, temporal, or radiometric. Then application side, we can use these different kind of sensors, and on a basis of the characteristics we can use in for the weather forecasting side or land mapping side, atmospheric physics side, atmospheric chemistry side, air quality, and in a different purpose we can use easily. Now the common orbit types I explained already. Polar orbits, where you will that is a sun synchronous, you will get a so what will be the range from above the earth? It will be 600 to 1000 kilometers, but geostationary side, your orbit will be fixed 32,000 to 36,000 above from the equator or from. So these are the two different types of the orbit. Then observation frequency, I told already, the polar observation, how it will change on a 0, 4, 8, like this. So frequency will also depend on what type of satellites are available, polar or geostationary. Then this is the coverage and the spatial resolution wise. So if you can see, if I want to cover this much big area and I am using a 30-meter spatial resolution Landsat data, then it can cover this much big area. But if I want to cover a same area through QuickBird or Iconos or a WorldView datasets, so these are the coverage of or swath of this particular sensor. So if I want to cover this much big area, then on a basis of the swath, I have to take those many pictures to collect to cover this much big area. So here, if the resolution is coarse, means low, then I can cover a very big area. If the resolution is very high, then I'll be able to cover a very small area. Now this is the sensor used for the remote sensing purpose. So different types of scanners, like a multispectral scanners, thematic scanners, microwave radiometers, SR, synthetic aperture radar, or panchromatic area camera. So every different types of sensors have a different characteristics. Like thematic mappers, people are generally used to calculate the lens surface temperature. Multispectral scanners in a satellite side we are using to detect the object characteristics. Then microwave sensors also we can collect object characteristic, but it has a capacity to penetrate the cloud, so we can use over the year anytime. Then synthetic aperture radar also have a active synthetic aperture radar has a active sensor site, so we can use in this data in night time. Also we can get a data sets easily. So in a panchromatic camera side, if we want a very high resolution data, or we want to see a very small object, those objects are available on the ground and we want to detect very easily, then we can use panchromatic cameras. Now the multispectral scanners, how it's working. This is the part. You can see what type of scanning is here. So this is the orbit direction, this is the swath. So this part I will show you in a later. So here we can see this is the lens or camera. So on a basis of the scanning or sweeping, how it will scan. So along the direction, it can collect our data, or across the direction also, across the direction of the sensor. So these are the two different types of sweeping methods also will come in the picture. Now the multispectral sensor side, you can see the wavelength range, different kind of channels is available here. MSS3, multispectral 3, 4, 5, 6. This is the Landsat series actually, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then different kind of channels are available. On a basis of these channels we can use. Then the aerial photography side and the linear array side, this is the push broom. So I told already, along the track and across the track. Along the track will come under the push broom, and the across the track whiz broom, rotating mirror side. So these are the different types of the scanning or the sweeping you can see here. Now the thematic mapper sides side also, it can improve the your spectral, spatial, and the radiometric characteristics. So in a thematic mapper side, it can map the or data acquired in a both direction of the scanning. Both direction means it can take a along the track and across the track in a both direction. It can collect the data easily. Now the thematic mapper site, again the thematic bands or thermal bands, we can thematic mapper site, the what are the bands are available. So band 6, if you will see, the band 6 is the thermal band. It can detect the thermal, it will come under the thermal infrared side. So if you want to collect what kind of temperatures are available on a ground or objects, that part we can detect through the thermal band easily. And this is the technical specification. What is the spectral range, number of bands, what is the temporal resolution, means after 16 days only you will get a same picture. What is the image size? Let's say if we are getting we are taking a one satellite data, then what will be the size? 185 by 172 kilometers area it will cover in a one photograph. And this is active or not active, or if it is programmable or not programmable. So these are the technical specifications are available, and this will be differ every satellite wise. Then this is the microwave. Hello.
Yes, sir. Continue. There was a noise from a participant. Just muted it. You continue.
Okay. So this is the microwave radiometer site. So again, here the micro antenna will amplifying and the detection of the electron. So MR antenna, what will do, it will radiated or reflected by the earth. So whatever the radiation or reflection will come from earth, it will collect by the antenna. So in a microwave radiometer site, there the collection part will be a very different from a optical site. So it can and the characteristics and the capacity will be differ, because here the frequency will also change in a microwave site. Let's say if we want to detect sea surface temperature or wind speed or moisture content or rainfall, so different kind of sensors will use in a microwave data site, and the wavelength will also change. So in a maybe there were again uh, the range resolution and the GRDH, both will be a different at a different types of the scanning site and the receiving site. So again here the four types of the polarization will come in a picture. One is the VV, VH, HH, HV. That part I will cover in the next slides. So what is the HH, HV and VV and VH? So VV means vertical, means if it is going from a vertical way, the energy, and it's receiving in a vertical form. So this will come under the VV polarization. Like that, if it is the HV, means it will go by the H horizontal direction, and it will receive by the vertical direction. So again, the microwave range will start from a 300 gigahertz to 0.3 gigahertz. So, and the radiometers generally will operate in a range of 0.4 to 35 gigahertz side. So these are the, if you can see here, the different types of sensors are available, and this is the operating period. And here you can see the number of channel and the resolution side here. So and what is the SWAT, means how much area these sensors can cover easily. So if you can see the AMSR2, it is coming in a 0.6 to 89 gigahertz range. So in this range, basically, and we can use for the soil moisture side or for the different purpose side, we can use easily. So these sensors characteristics also will depend on what kind of frequencies are available in the sensors. Now here we can see the synthetic aperture radar. So in a synthetic aperture radar or SAR part, so the resolution of SAR is directly proportional relation to the aperture area, right? So in aperture area side, let's say this is your this is the all parts of the SAR band, and this is the X band. So X band antenna is here it's available. So this is your the ScanSAR and the beam. So on a basis of so if sensor is on this side, so how much area it will cover, and on a basis of the this area, your pixel size will decide. So sometimes if we want to to detect a particular or cover one particular area with the high resolution side, then it will cover the very less area. If we want to cover a very high area, right, so that time your pixel size will change. So if you will see here the fine resolution beam, same satellite, when it will pass from this orbit, and if it is collecting a different spatial resolution wise data, then uh, the swath and the pixel size both will change. You can see here very easily, if it is the fine resolution beam is available, then it is covering a very less area. Now this is the synthetic aperture radar side, the skins are wide. If the same sensor is operating by in a different mode, then wide mode, if it is operating, we are operating or anyone is operating, then what kind of how much area it will cover. If it is the fine scanning mode, if it is operate, then this much area it will cover. Then scans are wide means this much big area it will cover. And uh, what is the radio frequency bandwidth, these all things are available. And these data sets, what is available here, this is the HH, means horizontal polarization is available. Yeah. Through that polarization, these data sets are available. Now the panchromatic camera, here you will get a one single camera, and the spectral range will come in a 0.45 to 8.5 micrometer. But here the GSD, ground sample distance, or the spectral resolution will be a very high in a panchromatic data set. Now the panchromatic camera, how it will work. So you can see here different, this is the panchromatic data, list 3 data, and AVS. So different types of the cameras are available here. If the panchromatic cartoset data ISP P5 is available, then the spatial resolution will be different. If the list 3 multispectral sensor is available, then it will cover, the swath will be high, but the pixel size will be at 23.5 meter. So this is characteristics of the panchromatic as and the multispectral cameras. Now the payload again, here this is the payload and the antenna. This is the whole picture. What are the the components will come under the payload side. So aircraft or launch vehicle will come, then cargo passenger, different parts are available here. So this is the solar wings, this is bus, this is antenna, these antennas. So these are the different parts will come. So what is the payload? Payload is a particular device, we can say, that will detect a object. So when we'll fix in a this payload in a particular satellite, then uh, the characteristics on a basis of the payload, the other part of the satellites will design. Now the data analytics part, if whenever or once we'll get a satellite data, then what kind of data layers will get from a satellite data. So integrated data, and here you can see the all types of objects very easily. Then vegetation side, or if someone is interested in a vegetation side, then he will cover this much area, because here the image is same, but the object or the area of interest is different from a same image site. Someone wants to do the analysis on a straight data set, then his area of interest is this one. If someone wants to use the image for to generate the level cylinders and cover site, then he will his object will be different. He wants to cover a whole things, building, vegetations, road, everything he wants to cover. So now so this is the background of the data analytics part. So here the data processing, interpolation, and the different types of the typical spatial analysis, the stages wise of any technical data, sorry, satellite data, and the techniques are available to get a data set or to analyze the results easily. Now the spatial analysis in a GIS. So these are the different layers, and each and every layers have a different kind of characteristics. So if I want to cover this particular part, and how I will get this particular layer, this is that layer where the all objects are available on a earth. So maybe in a one objects, I can identify the forestry part, another one object, agriculture, and then oil and gas. So these are the different layers. When I will put or overlay the all layers one by one, then I can cover the whole earth part easily. So this is the one particular part. So on a basis of the area of interest, we can cover the easily. Now this is the data analytics and what type of processing is required for the image side. So let's say if we are getting an image from a satellite data, from a satellite, then here the pre-processing is required. So what kind of pre-processing is required? So geometric correction is required to uh, you know uh, to sit that particular image uh, on a earth, so we can easily identify what is the exact lat long of that particular object on a ground. Then spectral correction is also required, because due to the atmospheric part, there were different kind of errors will come in satellite data. So so in that case, spectral correction is also required to get a actual reflectance value, a surface reflectance value, and then a radiometric or atmospheric correction is required, because there were a different kind of atmospheric layers are available, like you know a toposphere, stratosphere, ionosphere wise. So every layer wise, there were different types of components. Those are absorption, or those are radiating the energy. If we want to correct a particular image atmospherically, then definitely top of the atmosphere and here the bottom of the atmosphere kind of processing is required. Then the missing pixel restoration part. So let's say due to the spatial analysis, for the spatial analysis during the acquisition or the transmission of the energy, if some images getting a particular line or particular pixels are missing, then definitely we have to put a kind of uh, values of that particular object through a different kind of techniques. The if someone wants to do the pixel restoration, then there were different types of techniques are available. Or sometimes if there were a special resolution is different, like one sensor so special resolution is a 10 meter and another one sensor special resolution is 20 meter. If I want to do a resampling from a 20 meter to 10 meter, then there were different types of resampling techniques, like a nearest neighbor, but cubic convolution, or bilinear uh, bilinear resampling techniques are available. So, and then if there were a image, if we want to enhance the contrast means uh, the whatever the colors are available in the image, those are very dull, and we want to enhance the object or the image, then definitely or we want to increase the brightness of the whole image, then definitely we have to do some kind of operations on an image. And again, after that, the filtering part, let's say we can use different types of window to cover the whole image. Let's say in a there in an image there were sudden changes, like if the image is not very smooth in a one particular place, the same objects are not coming in a same way. So that time the filtering or image filtering also kind of processing we can run. So here the if we want to do a analysis or analytics through the satellite data, then here you will get a raw image. Here pre-processing, these all types of pre-processing we have to do here. Then image enhancement is required if the image is dull. Then this is the ancillary data, means here we can take a ground data or in situ data for the and then on a basis of this ancillary data or in situ data, we'll get a reference information for that particular object, and on a basis of that uh, on a basis of this in situ data, we can generate a different spectral wavelength wise signatures we can generate it here. And on a basis of these signatures, we can use different types of classification techniques, like supervised techniques or unsupervised techniques. Again, here if we have in situ data sets or the ground data, then we can on a basis of the ground data we can run supervised techniques. If we don't have the ground data or reference data, then we can move with the unsupervised data. So here also different types of techniques are available, c-mean, k-mean, or unsupervised here, iso data clustering. But in a supervised technique side, maximum likelihood, SVM, support vector machine, or spectral angle method, these are the different techniques people are using in the supervised classification side. And once you will get the results or classification results, then post processing operations is also required. Sometimes there where some objects are going to mix with the other class, or let's say there where water bodies are available, but due to the some kind of the training time or the object size, if it is going in agriculture class, uh, so in that case we have to do the post processing operations is required to correct that particular class. And after that, the accuracy assessment. So let's say if we are generating or we are doing analysis, so at a what level the accuracy is there for that analysis. So these are the full this is the flow chart how generally people are doing the analytics on a satellite data. Then here the suitable analytics techniques are also available. What I explained earlier, the color transformation, spectral and mixing, again the classification side, there were the different techniques. Then the classification with the training data, then again here the maximum likelihood, anomalous distance, parallel point, these are the different algorithms people are using for the with the if the training data is available. In that case, if the training data is not available, then k-mean, c-mean, iso data clustering types techniques people are using to separate out the different class-wise pixels from an image. So this is the forest fire mapping, if you can see here very easily. So this is the FCC false color composite image, and the color infrared you can see these are the vegetations, right? And this is the, if you can see, this particular part is coming under the under the file. So false, how we can make a false color composite image, this is the question. So in this case, in a sensor site, let's say there were blue, green, red, infrared, shortwave infrared, different bands are available. So what we will do, and in a particular channel side, visible channel side, we have a three channels: red, green, and blue channels. So what we will do in a red, from a red channel, whenever we will pass the infrared band, we have to pass infrared band from a red channel. Red band we have to pass from a green channel, and green band we have to pass from a blue channel. So you will get a false color composite image. So on a basis of that, we can generate a false color composite image, or natural color composite image, or true color composite image. So on a basis of the different band wise, we can generate a different indices also. The indices means, let's say if I want to generate NDVI, because every satellite has a different bands. There where you will get a red band, blue, green, infrared, shortwave, so red edge band also. So if I want to generate, for example, NDVI, normalized difference vegetative index, then what I will do, I will make a one equations. So what I will do, NIR, near infrared band, minus red, divided by near infrared plus red. So on the basis of that, I can generate indices that will detect the vegetation conditions easily, because every band has a different characteristics. Like that here, the standardized burning index NBR is here. So on the basis of the NBR, we can estimate how much area has been burned in an image easily. So if we have a different kind of bands, we can generate a n number of indices, and we can use for the different purpose easily. Now the flood mapping part here, generally why people are using the microwave data uh, to analyze the flooding area, because in that particular time, if the cloud cover is available, then optical data is not capable to penetrate the cloud cover, then definitely we will not get any image on that particular area if there were a flooding will happen. So in that case, we can use easily the micro data. Again, I told here this is the Sentinel-1 micro data. There were VV, VH, and VV, and HH, HV, VV, and VH. 4 polarizations are available, but this is the free microwave data actually.
Sir,
So
are they compressed images?
yeah, so I am coming on that particular point. So okay, so this is the Sentinel-1 microwave data. So here the VV and VH, the two polarization data sets are freely available. And if someone wants to use HH and HV polarization, then that is commercially available. So here what we made before flooding, you can see this area. It's coming very clearly. But when we made a combination after flooding, you can see here the difference. So this is the kind of ratio of VV by VH. Either you can use some kind of band combination or band ratio, or individually also you can use very easily. So let's say if someone wants to do uh, paddy crop mapping, then in that case he can use very easily VH or VV time series data, and he can map or analyze very easily how much area will come under the paddy crop and like that. So that's why I'm telling. So if either we can go with the band combination wise, or band ratio side to do the monitoring of water bodies, or the agricultural vegetation or bare soil or urban areas study side. Yes, sir. Now this is the again one example for the cyclone side, tropical cyclone side. So you can see here before tropical storm side, you can see here very clearly in a images. This is the color infrared image for the vegetation. This is the water side. So before and after changes, you can see very easily through satellite data. So we can through satellite data, we can estimate how much area has been damaged through from that particular storm side, or the flood side, or any cyclone side. So you don't have to go on that particular field. Only if you want to cover, or you want to analyze any particular country or state, so you can analyze up to what level, what is the intensity of damage, how much area has been damaged. You can analyze very easily through satellite data. Now this is the mapping and monitoring of the rice field. So you can see again, I earlier I mentioned here the NDVI, normalized difference vegetation index. So if I want to cover a paddy crop, let's say paddy crop, so paddy crop will start in the month, so the sowing, transplanting to harvesting, whole crop cycle if I want to cover, then I have to go with the time series data. So if let's say if I am acquiring a Sentinel-2 data, so its a spatial resolution is a 10 meter and the temporal resolution is a 6 stage. So every 6 stage basis or 10 days basis, I'll get a one Sentinel-2 data. And if you can see from a start to end, when the crop is in a sowing part, means when the crop was in a starting stage or the sowing stage, there you can see the open soil easily. When the crop profile, or when the crop will come from a sowing to emergence stage, emergence to vegetative stage, vegetative to flowering stage, flowering to portfoling, and then senescence stage. So every stage wise, you will get a different value in the NDVI index. Then on a basis of this, we can analyze, okay, when I am getting a value of NDVI 0.5 to 0.6, means the condition of the crop is a moderate vegetations are available on that particular area. So this is the one part. And second, if we want to see the damages, if we want to do the damage assessment through satellite data, so we can do very easily, because let's say in a vegetative stage time, the the value of NDVA was a zero point 0.9, but suddenly there were a drop. Then why it is dropping suddenly? Because there were some kind of the the damage is there due to uh, any natural climatic wise. So on a basis of that, we can calculate how much area has been damaged in a or area of interest part easily. Then useful, then what is the uses or the why the data analytics part is useful, or satellite data. So if we can cover a different we can cover a different types of data sets, and it is very easily handleable. You can one person can handle a whole state, or it is more economical way to cover the whole area or for the analysis part also. And we can instantly we can process the huge data sets, because once you will uh, fix the whole pipeline every stepwise. Let's say from a raw data, if I'm getting here from a raw data to final processing data, if I will fix a one time pipeline for a one particular satellite data, then we don't have to do again and again same kind of thing. Just we have to give the input and you will get a processed data output. So this kind of automation easily we can do. And now I can show the case studies here. So in the agriculture purpose, we can we can calculate through satellite data very easily. From credit risk assessment we can do, from damage assessment, crop cycle, crop life cycle, area estimation, sowing, harvesting predictions, and if there were the pest uh, attack will come in after 5 days or 4 days, that part also we can cover it easily in agriculture side. Then again infrastructure side also, what is the kind of constructions changes detection part we can easily I am mapping footprint identification, damage detection. This part we can cover easily through satellite data. So here you can see SatSure Seas, SatSure Skies, and SatSure Sparta. Also the SatSure Sparta, this platform is freely available. Anyone can go, he can make his login and he can use satellite data easily. So that data sets, whatever is available on a Sparta, that is freely and processed data. So if someone wants to do the analysis, he can directly use that data and he can do the analysis. Now you can see the case study side. This is the agriculture case study. Through satellite data, I can cover the whole life cycle of the crop. So from what is the sowing process, preventive sowing part, crop health, crop damage, harvest progression, harvest readiness, relative yield, or what kind of yield will come, and the predictive yield area, how much area is available in a district. So this is the Srikakulam district. There were some 45 mandals are available. So each and every mandal wise, village wise, even the farm wise, I can tell what kind of sowing is there, which particular crop the farmer sowed on that his particular his land. If there were some kind of damage or stress conditions will happen on his farm, that information also we can extract through satellite data, and these insights we can provide to the different purpose. Let's say farmer wants satellite derived insights at a farm level, we can fulfill his requirement. If government wants at a district or mandal level or taluka level, then we can provide insights on that particular administrative level easily. Now here you can see this is the state government project what we completed. So they want to see what is the sowing window estimation. So basically this is the one particular block there where different villages are available. So here we can see in this block this much area is in a favorable condition. This is the non-favorable area on an unfavorable side in a different date wise. So here we can calculate how much area is in a favorable side, how much area is in an unfavorable side. And second, the agriculture stress condition side in a which particular day, and how much area is under the stress condition side. That part also we can analyze through satellite data. Now here you can see the crop damage assessment side. So in a 2017, you can see the NDVI changes. So on a basis of the damage, we can see how much area under the damage, and on a basis of that we can do the mapping easily. So here paddy damage area in a percentage you can see here at a village level. So due to Titli cyclone in the Ganjam district, so we can analyze how much rice area has been damaged, at what intensity, and what is the percentage of damage. We can analyze through a satellite data. We don't have to go on that particular place. Only we have to track that particular the natural climatic activity. On a basis of that, we can select the satellite data and we can analyze. Now here the farm monitoring side, you can see here this is the different blocks are available, or the villages are available. So these are the different indices. On a basis of the indices, here we basically took a time series data. Means we let's say if anyone is doing sowing in the month of June and he's doing a harvesting in the month of November. So from a June to November, at a defined interval basis, we basically we took a time series data, satellite data, and on a basis of that time series data, we generated the insights. So there were different farms. Every farm wise, we can see the condition at a different time wise. So once you will increase the time, you can see the changes at a farm level. So here you can see this is the one farm, but in this pocket here, there where the condition is good, but in this area the condition is in a stress condition. So these insights or the insights we can generate through satellite data, even in a one particular area, if there were different types of varieties are available. So if we want to identify the varieties, and we want to analyze every variety wise how much area is available, so that part also we can do through a satellite data easily. Now if someone wants to do the water productivity analysis or showing progress wise, so that part also we can cover very easily. So from here we can calculate in a 2014, 15, 16, 17 and 18, if and here we covered the kharif season. So every season wise, what is the crop water requirements to grow 1 kg of field, how much water is required. This type of analysis also possible through satellite data easily. Now this is the our dashboard that we provided to Kerala government uh, during the flood time in 2018. So here on a basis of the pin code area wise or pin code level wise, and here the emergency call geolocation wise heat map is available. So where the from which particular part government is getting emergency calls very high. So on a basis of they can set the priority where they have to go first, and they can start the rescue operations or perform very easily with the limited resources. So this kind of activity we can manage easily, and for this full activity or for this full uh, dashboard part, if we want to cover her whole area, so we don't have to go with the 13, 15 or 50 peoples. 3 or 4 peoples are sufficient to cover the whole state, and we can generate the insights near to real time basis, and we can provide a support to government or non-government or NGOs easily, so they can use this type of insights easily, and they can manage the whole activity with the limited resources. Now the infrastructure side also, you can see here the road and highway construction monitoring part also is possible. If there were some kind of damage on a highway, that part also we can detect very easily. Now here the changes are I told already. From a infrastructure change or building construction site, if the at a what rate of the constructions are going on that particular area, that part also we can detect through the satellite data. Only there is a one limitations here, we have to use a very high resolution data. Then here also this is also possible if you want to see the solar energy potential sites, what are the potential sites where people can fix the the solar plate and they can generate the maximum power through uh, through the solar panel. So that kind of study also very easily we can complete through satellite data. So now this is the about the set shore. This is the global recognition, and we are we are providing a 4 lakh farmers insurance benefits we already provided, and 12,000 individual rescued operations, we did already. So this is the one kind of study from my side. If we have a time, then I can show quickly or platform. So anyone can use if someone wants to use in a future. So this is the platform. You can see my screen.
No, sir. Only the PPT was visible.
Okay, wait. Now,
Yes, it's visible.
yeah. So this is the this is the platform, right? So here, if someone wants to see what kind of the operations we can use. I can't go because so here you have to click on our Data Explorer. So once you will do the login, I'll show you from here. This is the contact and all. Here the login options we have to do. So this platform is freely available. Just you have to go here, data site. Now here you will get a crop, land, pollution, water. So you can select any region, like India. If I'm selecting, then from here you can select a state. So now it's 4-5 states are available uh, at a freely basis. So we other states also available. If someone wants to see his states, he can see easily. Now you have to select a district, sub district. Any sub district you will select. So here you will get a sub district. Here you have to select a crop agnostic. If someone wants to see the condition of the particular product, then you have to select a vegetation health index. If I want to cover a whole area from June 8 to November 21st, then he can see what type of crop healths are available. So you can see here easily. If you will see on once you will click on a June, you will see the condition. If you will click on here, what is the condition of the 8 June, 8 July, you can see here like this. If someone wants to see what was the condition on a September month, he can see the September month's conditions also easily, and every date wise what type of conditions are available on that sub district level, he can get information. And here the vegetation condition wise the graph is also available, so he can use easily. Now he can see the temperature, rainfall, evapotranspiration. So these all data sets are available freely. If someone wants to do a work, so he can use this particular platform, and this is freely available. What he has to do, he has to make a login. Yeah. So that's all from my side, uh, Dr. Victor. And
Sir, there is a question in the chat box there, like from
yeah.
Manikam. I mean, where we get the satellite data for our data analytics. Is there any sites available to check? I mean,
Fine. So from a data analytics side, there were different freely satellite data websites are available. So anyone can download. So if someone wants and the free satellite data list, I can tell you what is 250-meter spatial resolution freely daily data is available. There were 36 products are available. So if someone wants to work in a different region, like someone wants to work in aerosol side or oceanography side or agriculture side, he can use a different product. So and he can download easily. Then Earth Explorer, that is also one platform from a USGS side. So there he can, from there he can download the Sentinel and uh, Landsat data easily. From a Sentinel hub side also, if someone wants to use microwave data or optical data or atmospheric data basically, so those data sets are easily available uh, on a ESA website. So just anyone wants to download or want to use a satellite data, he has to make a one login and he can download the any satellite data. Even they are providing some pre-processing tools with the satellite data. He can easily install, or anyone can easily install on a any system, and he can do the processing.
Okay,
Yeah,
sir.
Sam.
So there is one more question, like, can you brief about the use of metadata in satellite image by Dr. Ramesh Kumar P.
Yeah. Ramesh Kumar P.
One more
Yeah.
regarding link, Sabine, please check.
Yeah. Yes.
Dr. Ramesh is asking, can you brief about the use of metadata in a satellite, right?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. So in a satellite images, metadata is a very important factor. Yeah, because if we can use the metadata during the pre-processing time. Because let's say if I want to do a atmospheric correction, or if I want to convert satellite data uh, from a radiance to reflectance, so in that time definitely we have to use the metadata. In metadata, what are the informations you will get? Sun synchronous angle, sun elevation angle, what is the Lmax, L mean, lat long, what is the middle point, what are the bands are available in metadata. That information you will get it, as well as the FWHM, full width up maximum. If someone wants to calculate that, also he can calculate, because they are the spectral spectral information is also available. Means every band wise, what is the range of the spectral band, spectral range. So those information is available in a metadata, so anyone can get it. If someone is using any satellite data, he definitely during the processing time he has to use the all metadata file.
Okay, sir. There is one more question from Ms. Padma Gita regarding, like, can you get the link for the data sets?
Data set, so the satellite data, from a satellite data site, sir.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah, so just give me one second. I will share right now. Just 1 second. Okay, so if someone wants to do 1 minute, here I am pasting. This is the one link. If someone wants to download the MODIS data, he can download there where all products are available. And someone wants to use a very high resolution data, then he can go with this link. So he will get a Landsat and Sentinel's data sets he can download. Only he has to make he has to select the area of interest, which particular region he wants to download the data, and the date part he has to select. On a basis of that, he can download.
Okay, thank you, sir. Are there any more doubts from the participants? You can unmute yourself and ask your doubt if you want. Otherwise, you can post it on the chat box. The floor is open for discussions. Okay, if there are no more doubts, Victor,
I
sir.
think, I think no more doubts. Like, we thank you, Mr. Pradeep Bisan. Like,
Yeah.
it was a very good session. Like, from the micro level till the analytics parts, we have covered almost all of the part of the satellite-based data analytics part. And thank you very much. And it will be, I hope, it will be very much fruitful to all the audience for their future research or maybe the analysis work. And thanks and happy to have you here for us with us for our FTP.
Thank you, Dr.
Yeah.
If any query you are getting from a participant side,
Yeah.
so please forward
Sure.
to me. I
Sure.
will answer.
Sure, for sure. Yes, Sabine. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Yes, Sabine. Thank you.
So thank you, Pradeep Bisan, for the informative and valuable session. I hope every participant was well impressed with the session, and we got enormous amount of knowledge from your side. And I'm really sure that they will keep in touch with you for their research purposes and all.
Yeah.
So thank you, sir. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So by this, we call it a day, and we are winding up the session. The attendance link is available in the chat box. You are requested to fill the Google form for your attendance. And we are winding up the session, and we will meet tomorrow. Thank you all. Thank you for joining.